Thank you everybody for coming this afternoon. This is the CPAC UPK work group meeting. My name is Ed Spencer. I am the facilitator of this cohort of these meetings. And today we are going to basically two parts to our meeting. So the first is a presentation from Jennifer at TBC around quality. And then we are going to be applying some of the things we learned from Jennifer's presentation to our equity action plan rules around quality. Agreements for today. We have each San Francisco fashion instead of a parking lot. We have a so we are going to move into announcements. I want to call your attention to the agenda that was sent to you online. There is a link on that agenda to written announcements. So please do click on that and check that.
Director Ingrid Mesquita of DEC was invited to chair at a symposium in Sacramento. A statewide symposium organized by the Learning Policy Institute and Early Edge California that featured San Francisco's work around universal preschool as a model for the state. I think Erica brought some copies of the report to share, but it was a really great opportunity to hear San Francisco's work be featured as a statewide model for a universal pre-K and an auxiliary system, featured for all the proactive and strategic work that's been done here around workforce, right? Proactively anticipating what would be needed and investing in that. Around an auxiliary system and setting up systems and structures to support that. In the context of always needing to think about the work that's to come, also nice to think about or remember how far ahead we already are in San Francisco and have that be like featured in a statewide way. Kudos to everyone who's supported the work to get our city as far as it is now. Long Beach, the city of Long Beach, and a small rural district. A small rural district whose name is Lindsay Unified. Of course, we know that we have DC is like a governing body. In Long Beach, they have more of like a coalition, a commission that drives it. The small rural district is really driven by the school district. So different governance models, funding models, but it did a great job, and it was really nice to hear the work that we've done here.
And I just want to validate that, in rooms like this, we are always championing and clamoring for more and better and more and better. And it's good to recognize, we've done some good work and we've gotten ourselves into a good place as a foundation for more and better.
Basically, from now on, we will be focused on our needs assessment. So we are only working together to find so what can we improve, right? And then find ways to improve in a systemic way. So CPAC is now embarking on a process of our 5-year needs assessment, and UPK will be a big part of it. So based on the equity action plan and the priorities we identified for this year, and also the priorities in general, we will be mapping what data do we need for that priority to address that priority, right? So, and then we will incorporate that in our needs assessment. If, for example, we want to find the quality of after school time programs or out of school time programs that are serving TK, and we don't have that data, we can incorporate that as part of the scope of work for the needs assessment, if that's a priority for us. So in the next 18 months, we will be focused on identifying the needs and then plan to address it. based on the equity action plan and also based on the scope of work of CPAC in general. But again, UPK will be a big part of it. So this work group is unique because we have support from GSA or CTE. We have a composition that's required, but we also part of CPAC. Therefore, we may see some change coming in the upcoming months in terms of how we function. So this year, the rest of the year, we're going to hear a lot about needs assessment, and I'm so glad that we came to a point in this process where we identify what members will work in what priorities so we can work together and then collect data together, find reports together, and progress like that, right? The main theme will focus on workforce and workforce compensation, workforce pathway. Also, after May, we are going to have quarterly meetings. That's the plan so far. So every 3 months we meet because the idea is that we'll be working together to collect data, to find reports, and then focus really in building that needs assessment and the plan.
So I want to welcome Jennifer Delos Reyes from DEC, who's going to do a presentation about quality.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Delos Reyes. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Early Learning Programs Quality Manager at DEC. I've been working in the field here in San Francisco. This is my 30th year, actually. I started when I was 10. Anyways, I've been working in the field for a long time here in San Francisco, but I've only been at TC for the last 2.5 years. And so I'm as new as the department. So I did do some work with the first 5 iterations of TDC, doing some PDs. I taught classes at SF State, and I also did a lot of work in a few different nonprofits here in San Francisco. So I'm glad to be here today, and I'm glad to be working at TDC. Anytime I go out into the community and talk about TDC and the work that is happening there, I'd like to ground us in the TDC vision that every child in San Francisco has the best start in life, and our city is a great place to raise a family. We also have a UPK vision of here that San Francisco's Universal Prekindergarten initiative ensures that every child in our city enters kindergarten ready to learn and thrive. We believe that all families, regardless of background, income, or neighborhood, deserve access to high quality early learning options that work for them. All right, so here's sort of the flow of my presentation with you today. We'll do some grounding of talking about what's happening now in quality, what's emerging, what we're working on, and what we're planning for, and then hopefully we'll have some time for some discussion. So today I've been asked to talk through the quality strategies in place and ones that we're working on to get us to this action priority and access to quality early learning across all models and communities. Here's our TPC, our current TPC org map. For those who don't know, we do have 4 divisions: the Early Learning Division, Finance and Operation, Evaluation, Policy, Communications, and Child, Family, and Wellbeing. The strategies we use for families to access quality early learning programs all live in the Early Learning Division. Families need to be able to access subsidies. We need to make sure we're taking care of our workforce. We need to make sure that we have quality space and facilities. We need to ensure program quality. So all of these pieces are really important for quality. And this division, we work really closely together to make sure that we're pushing forward all the initiatives that we need to. But today I'm here to talk about the program quality piece. So here's our theory of change with kindergarten readiness as our North Star. These are the core strategies, strategic priorities, and outcomes that help shape our work around quality. So the early learning division and then the strategic priorities around amplifying parent voice, increasing cultural responsiveness, and increasing transparency and communications. We want children to enter kindergarten ready first. These are some themes that came out of the strategic plan feedback cohorts. When they were building out the strategic plan, they were around kindergarten readiness, childcare quality, and race and racism. And so these were the ones that really are tied to our quality activity. Also named in the strategic plan is our quality improvement system called the DEC, San Francisco Quality Connections. The goal of the Quality Connections is to give early educators the tools, training, and support they need to provide rich, high-quality early learning experiences that prepare children for school and success. This is the quality strategy that's under early learning core strategy in the strategic plan. And the SFQC existed through First 5 and was put together well before my time. And this is a slide that sort of depicts all the things in our quality improvement system and the SFQ. Obviously, at the heart of our system are the kids and families, the children and the families. Of course, without them, we wouldn't have and we wouldn't need any kind of system. So the educators are a huge part of this system. They're the ones that are really engaging with the children and families and really delivering quality services. Our ECE administrators and our ECE owners, our FCC owners, our early childhood mental health consultants, our coaches and facilitators, they're the ones who support the educators in the work that they do. The quality partners are to oversee those people who are doing the work, supporting the educators. And this group comes together to talk about and hear about what's happening in the quality world and also to coordinate services when we get to. And then lastly, we have our Quality Counts California, or the QCC, which is the body at the state level that implements the quality improvement system across the state. It's where we get our quality improvement framework. Because we get this funding from the QCC, we are mandated to have another governance body called we call ours the San Francisco Quality Consortium. And so this is our quality improvement system, the SFQC, and it's here to serve and support all the programs and families in our network. This work really supports the existing UPK system and has been in place for many, many years. All right, so our quality improvement governance body, the San Francisco Quality Consortium. As I said before, we get money from the state for quality improvement, and so we have this governance body called the San Francisco Quality Consortium. With community input, DEC and the Quality Consortium together really directly inform and decide on local quality improvement activities based on state requirements and the local needs of our existing UPK system. And you see under there are the different members of the consortium. These seats are mandated by the state. And we all come together. We have varying perspectives. It's a great group. And we're going to be trying some really good work together in the coming years. All right, and these are the quality partners. These are the agencies that we partner with to execute the quality improvement services, the quality improvement supports. So now I'm shifting gears a little bit to talk specifically about the quality improvement supports that we have in place. So coaching. We have coaching available for FCCs and centers, and we have a system that was put into place many, many years ago before the network was so big, as big as it is. And so we have coaching for FCCs and centers, and how coaching is how hours of coaching is allocated is aligned with their tier. So if a center is a green tier, they get 6 hours per classroom per month. Blue tier 4 hours, and then an orange tier is 20 hours total. And the tiers are based on how many subsidized families a site is serving. And FCCs right now get 20 hours total for the year. That's like per request. That's only because of capacity. And we'll talk a little bit about that. We do have a pretty robust PD system with a lot of trainings. These trainings are tied back to early care and instructional frameworks, our local DESE quality standards, and there's some educator and leadership coaching for implementation support. We would like to have it be all PDs coaching for implementation support, because we know that you can't just take a training and then expect educators to implement right away. It's really important to have implementation supports in place for them. And these bubbles at the bottom you see there are the strands that we have trainings in. Okay. Early childhood mental health consultation is the other quality support that we have in place. Early childhood mental health consultation in San Francisco has a very long and rich history. San Francisco is like ground zero, really, for the people who wrote the book on early childhood mental health consultation. And for many, many, many years, the Early Childhood Mental Health Consultation Initiative was funded by TPH. And last year it came under TEC, which is wonderful because we could really, start to align all of our quality supports together. A lot of different entities are doing all this work. And so we're hoping to be able to align best practice across all of those disciplines. Okay. So now I am switching gears to talk a little bit about the pieces of work outside of us that have influenced our work as a quality team and changed the state level with the equitable QRIS. The rise of the equitable QRIS has given us a chance to look at our local quality standards. We have had a lack of quality assurance activities or monitoring ever since the state said that QRIS wasn't, the ratings were not mandated for non-CSPP programs. The application and validation process for new programs to get into the network needed some tweaking. It was a really long process. We had a really big backlog of programs who had applied to be in the network, and it was taking a while to cycle through. And then also the UPK policies coming out of the state from their state mandate. We've already had a mixed delivery system in SF for many, many years. And now we are working on that alignment and coordination piece across our policies. So just a little bit about the equitable QRIS. So the QRIS was put in place a while ago, like 2011, 2012. And around 2021, there were some California early childhood advocates who called out the quality rating and improvement system as inequitable and racist. And so the state responded by putting together a QCC equity project. And their main goal was to find out how people in California were experiencing the QCC and to make recommendations for a more equitable QCC moving forward. So they formed the Equity Center QRAS panel, and their charge was to make recommendations for changes to the child care and development quality rating and improvement system that was operated by CESS. They met from August 2024 to August 2025, and you can find all of their recordings online. If you Google Equitable QRAS, I did put a link in the slide deck there for you. Their recommendations report came out in 2026. I hope it goes through, and I hope there's funding and everything in plans. But I think it's going to be really wonderful and really speak a lot to the work that this group is doing as well. This was a report done, nationwide reports that this work in the state has been based on. So what we've been doing these last couple of years is we had the chance to update our local quality standards. They were based on the QCF, they mirrored the quality continuum framework that the state put out. But with the rise of the equitable QRIS and the fact that CSPP programs are only using bronze scores for rating, this was an opportunity for us to look at our quality standards locally, go out to the community, and find out whether or not these quality standards were the ones we wanted to have. And so we did a lot of work with the community. We got input from families, from administrators, from FCC providers, and from center teachers. And we were able to update the standards. All of the QCF elements are included in there. It's just rearranged to reflect what the community felt like was included. And because we updated the quality standards, we're able to streamline that validation process, the process by which programs come into the network. The focus for that process is on 3 standards that rose up to the top across all of the engagements we did. So the focus is on family partnership, safe and engaging environments, and engaged educators. There's 2 more standards, learning opportunities and continuous professional development. Those 2 standards are being followed up on with new programs in quality assurance visits. And that takes us to the next little walk there, leading quality assurance and quality improvement activities. This year, we are going to be piloting a quality improvement activity, our peer learning cohort. The idea from this came from the community. When we asked the community to talk about quality assurance activities, they were like, "What? Sure." And so we were like, "Oh, that's not a bad idea. That's great. Let's try to see if we could build a pilot to test out if that's something that we could do in the network." And so we built it out, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to start rolling out this fiscal year. We are also going to start doing some program quality monitoring visits to some of the sites. We have a limited capacity at TUC to be able to do this, so it's going to be small numbers at first. And then we also this year really did some beautiful work with the SFDOC around sharing the UPK vision, and to get on the road and did a bunch of community engagement and recommendations on UPK policy implementation. These are the quality standards that were updated. So it's family partnership, safe and engaging environments, engaged educators and interactions, learning opportunities, and continuous professional development. Those were the 5. And this was a crosswalk we did with the standards, the global quality standards and the state quality continuum framework. One of the things that's not in the standards, but it's still one of the things that we do look at is the ratios and group sizes. I just want to call that out. That is an eligibility requirement to enter the early learning for all network instead of being embedded in the standards. The community felt really strongly about, how qualifications are really, really important, but they're not the key element at all. And so it was something that didn't feel as important as the other pieces up there, but it felt important to have a baseline for programs wanting to connect to the network or quality programs. So these are the things that are emerging, what we're working on. This stuff that I'm excited about. Now that I wasn't excited before, God, I'm really excited about this stuff. Okay. There are now over 500 programs in our early learning for all network, our UPK system. And currently a program within the network is offered coaching, training, and early childhood mental health consultation. So all of those things are offered, and some sites have all three of those things, and some sites have one. The work that those folks do all together is really, really important in supporting educators in doing their work with young children. And in some pockets around San Francisco, there are programs who use all of their mental health consultants and their coaches and anything from their professional development all really well together so that they have this really great support system in place. That is not something that is systemic. And so that's what we're looking forward to. Really, that's kind of the big picture for us, is to really increase systemic integration, coordination, role delineation, and collaboration as experienced by both the early learning system folks and the support. And so sometimes it gets confusing, like who's doing what, who do I go to? And it's also confusing for the people who are offering the supports, right? And so we're really trying to align best practices. So what we're trying to do is align all the quality supports. We have a vision for what quality supports are, and we want to go into each discipline to really clearly define them, and then understand what the roles of each supports are, and then have common frameworks grounded in equity, keeping the experience of the child at the center of the work across the entities delivering the supports. Right. So you saw all those little boxes in the quality partners. They're all delivering coaching. Some of them are delivering early childhood mental health consultation, and they're all doing it in their own way. And we really want to have them all working towards the same goal, and so that their own experience and experience of the educators is positive across the board. Not necessarily saying they have to do the same exact things, but just so that there's some coherence and cohesion around around how we support early educators. And also, we would like to have it so that everyone receives supports when needed. I just mentioned there are 550 programs in the network currently, and we're looking at adding more. So our quality support system was put in place during a time when we had much less, so much less programs in the network. So making sure that everyone receives support when they need it is something we're trying to solve for within the next 5 years or so. We are piloting and implementing quality assurance and quality improvement activities. So I talked about the peer learning cohort pilot and quality monitoring visits. We're going to do those this year, hopefully this year. Quality monitoring visits is something that we'll talk with the community about. We're hoping that it can be a collaborative effort as opposed to us going in so that can box, because we want it to be meaningful and transparent. This is the exciting thing. So I talked earlier about the statewide work that's happening. These are the equity indicators that the Equity Centered Advisory Panel Quality Improvement System recommended. So the first one is the local environment quality measurement explicitly addresses equitable experiences. So what they're saying is that instead of just using class as an assessment or ECRS as an assessment, we know that both of those don't really speak to how those whether or not those interactions, good interactions are happening equitably for all children, right? And so they're talking about potentially layering it with another assessment that could assess time. High quality curricula and pedagogy are accessible and culturally responsive. Early intervention and special education access, identification, and inclusion. Dual language immersion approaches for dual language learners. Eliminate harsh discipline. Reduce suspension and expulsion. Like it's actually written down. That's yes, please. Family leadership and engagement efforts. Workforce conditions, preparation, and development should be a quality indicator. Communications, outreach, and systems alignment. So this is exciting. Hopefully they'll come it out. Hopefully there'll be funding tied to it. These are the things that, as you can see, get me really excited. Claudia asks, what stage is the state in getting this out? So this current RFA for QRIS ends this year, 2026, 2027 is the last year for this current RFA. So hopefully in the next RFA that starts July 1, 2027, we'll have some iteration of some change, right? I don't know how they're gonna roll it out, but they did make the recommendation. And you can read them online. I have it linked here. There's a whole report on it that goes into detail about what they would like to see the state do under each of those indicators. So these are the discussion questions that we came up with. What's resonating with you from what you've heard? And what other quality improvement efforts are you aware of and participating in that play a role in our SFPK?
Thank you. My question. I was intrigued that there's going to be monitoring, and what is that building on now? Is there any monitoring that happens around quality? What's the now state and what's the future state?
Right now, it's very light touch monitoring. Every program has to turn in a quality improvement plan. That's it. Aside from the curious ratings that happen for CSPP programs, outside of that, it's not. The other time that we would assess the quality of a program is when they're coming into the net. And so we're wanting to beat that a little bit. Might show you lost her. And I'm sure you have a template for the quality improvement plan.
Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer. So one thing, coming from the family childcare community, happy I feel like it's special. The relationship we have with the local partners, with the BDC, with different quality young partners that mentioned, the close relationship, it helps relate the concern or their thinking, their perspective from the ground to the table that is able to help everybody look at the problem perspective. From the peer learning cohort that input community engagement meeting, Yes, one question is keep on me is that the provider talking about, oh, we have so many different community engagement meetings with all these different departments, but only meeting the asset and enrollment department for the last 6 years. Since the pandemic, why people are not coming to you or the people are choosing some other program. So, but then um, the argument I think we could take on to ponder is the Maslow hierarchy that the yeah you need to take in the basic need and then you move on to the next level, how about improvement, how about the next goal. And I feel like a lot of the childcare program right now they are struggling because of the oversupply, the market shift, and all these different things, and that is causing their Maslow hierarchy. The basic need is not meeting, and then we are talking about quality improvement that makes them feel they are disconnected. I feel like I did some data digging on the numbers. I feel like it explains to myself about why certain provider is having a harder time. Some providers are not impacted yet. So I just want to put it on the table.
Thank you for the presentation, Scarlett. That was a lot of information, but very helpful. And your excitement is just contagious. I appreciate it. It went to the slides. I don't know if I read it around inclusion and special needs and if there's any strand. I didn't see it, but maybe there is. And so could you talk a little bit about that? I was curious around the quality standards that are being used with ELFA. How do they compare and or align with SFUSD and Head Start?
Yes, there is an inclusion strand. There's a foundations of inclusion training that happens. There's trainings about the ASQ screening. We're going to have a training specific to understanding autism. There's another one about meeting medical needs. And then there's going to be another one about whether or not those standards align with SFUSD and Head Start. Because they align with the quality continuum framework out of the state, they certainly align with what SFUSD is doing. All their programs are CSPP programs. For Head Start, there are things that have to be in place, like you have to have assessments. You have to be able to assess well child checks. There's some family engagement pieces as well. If you are a CSPP program or a Head Start program, you are meeting the local quality standards.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Likewise, on the enthusiasm about what's coming up. One of the things that I'm trying to understand as a CBO and center-based programs is we have a short day every month on Friday for teacher professional development. So we close early because we're open 242 days a year from 7:30 to 5:30. So I'm curious how, when there's on-site coaching, and it could be really personalized to the provider, that works really well. So they could be scheduled for that Friday every month, or whenever it is that this particular site is offering professional development. But when there's sort of centralized, like here's the list of all the trainings you can come to, how does that intersect with us saying, oh, we're actually adopting a Reggio inspired creative. So we're getting someone tomorrow, this Friday, right, for embodied sensory learning, right? Like how do we do that and then try to match that up with what DEC is offering?
For coach, so the coaches at DEC have different specialties. Well, a lot of centers are doing what you're doing, closing early on a day of week to do PE. Then those coaches that are assigned to them will come in and do a training. They're called on-site trainers. So we are also thinking about the future iteration of coaching and professional development and early childhood mental health consultation. When we're thinking about who gets coaching, why, when, and how, what types of modes of PD that can be offered. So that is a good question. There are also agencies out there who do have their own embedded coaches, and so that is also going to be still an opportunity in the future.
Thank you, Jennifer, for this great presentation. Excited to see what the future of early education is to move forward. But my question is about inclusion. I just wonder how VCE will work together with the FCC and center programs to educate the teacher how to work with the children with learning abilities. Because from my experience, I've been 18 years with infant and toddlers. I see that since 7, 8 months. But as a teacher, at that time, I didn't have that knowledge, but I worked in collaboration with the family support program with 3 professionals who worked on my classroom for 3 years. They taught me how to look for red flags. That was great for to have that opportunity to be part of that pilot at the time. That was like 15 years ago. And that was motivating to become that my master in special education, which is great too, to have that ability to learn. But how DCE will work for the teacher, for all the teachers in the future to really have that knowledge. Because I see for my thought teachers that the children are lack for language to express, but they just see the child as a behavior child, as a crying child, as a tantrum child, but they don't see what is behind that. What is the problems going to do in the future to educate the teachers to have a really, I see that this is really one high quality product, right? That's major needed besides the language reform, but with doesn't mean you high needed, right?
It is one of DEC's priorities. If anyone saw any of parts of Ingrid's, anytime that Ingrid presented, did her budget presentation for this coming couple of years, inclusion is a huge part of that DDC. We're thinking about it in terms of facilities and quality spaces. And then we're also thinking about it for we're looking at pathways. And we're also partnering workforce and quality are partnering together on supporting educators to go through an inclusion pathway, like a certificate accredited program to be able to get some coursework around inclusion. And then once their coursework is finished, they get some coaching to support them in the classroom around all the things, to implement all the things that they learned in those courses and to give them some support. I can also see a future where there's early childhood mental health consultation also supporting that work. We also have inclusion coaches too that are available to the network that supports programs who have children who have identified or their children that have differing needs that aren't necessarily identified yet. We do still work closely with support for families as well to give ECE programs support. But it is going to be a huge part of what we're doing very soon. So the facilities and the pathways and then the coaching that's tied to it as well.
So the place is really exciting again, right? And with a little more resource, but then now our city, San Francisco, is going to be able to do this by us, and that's so exciting. And then so when everybody is doing all this quality improvement, then I think it's really important. That's why we're doing this work, our goals, to align the goals, ready goals, so that everybody is talking about not the kind of quality that everybody can have. So I think the conversation about both will be better. Yes.
I have a question from President. Curious to know because you mentioned that you have experience with young children with behavioral special needs. I do believe that every educator should have a set of training and understanding on how to work with young children with diverse needs. Do you think, because right now the city has, not the city, the state has said, based on the permit structure, which is changing, but based on the permit structure, and also what we're seeing from the state is you must have core courses. And we know that the core courses don't have a lot of the kind of basic training that you would imagine a teacher, like after 12 units, you'd be left alone with the child. That's an assumption, right? You think San Francisco should embark on a journey to think about core competency of San Francisco early educator? So that's a question. And then thinking about what does that look like to bring everybody up to some sort of core competency?
I believe that if you spend money, because I see a lot of children that really need that have a different learning ability. If you partner with the state university, with the special education program, probably Professor Amber, Professor Melissa, they're the main teachers for the special education. They will probably help you to get some really great classes for the teachers to take over two courses that would focus on the different autistic to learn dual language, hearing impairment, because that is facing learning abilities in the community. Probably they will be more successful. But I also believe that teachers often want to get higher education because they say, what is the point to get higher education if you don't get a voice? I've been there and done that. When I get my master, I think get okay. I want to be professional. I want to be better teacher in my classroom. I want to be better to the children. So that's the other thing too. If you want higher education and the teachers get that education for special education, but how they want to get, pay a little bit more. If you really want to be a higher quality education, that's a dream of, but how you want to get to that point.
Yeah, and so we're going to do some group work now, moving into the next piece, this slide, which is some group work around our equity action plan. So as a reminder, this is our equity action plan that this group created and approved. And the ones in purple are the priorities that we have decided that we're going to start first up as priority. And so what we're going to do for today is we are pulling out two priorities that relate most to quality. And so the biggest one is priority 3, expand access to quality learning across all models and communities. And there's some potential actions around that there. Priority number 1, sites develop action plans to strengthen school readiness for children and families most impacted by inequities. Right, so those are the two that we're going to be focused. So there's 4 posters around the room, but given the size, I think 2 groups is fine. And so if you are interested in talking about priority 3, you're going to gather here, and Claudia is going to facilitate the conversation here. And if you're interested in talking about priority 1, you're going to come up here, and Heather is going to facilitate a conversation. So we now have 2 stations. One station for priority 1. Pick the discussion you want to have and go that corner. If there's too many people, balance yourself out. Right? And when you get there, you'll have 3 prompts to discuss. So go ahead. Each station you'll have 3 prompts. What organizations are already working on this issue? And in 3 years, how would we know we've been successful? So go ahead and pick your group now.
you have any questions, just raise your hand or share the chat.
Okay, so here is the next piece for you. Just swap over to the other station, and so you can read what the other group, and then ask any questions of Heather or Claudia about the contact there, just to have awareness, and you can add anything that you want to there. Yeah.
No. Well, like the thesis lesson, actually, the main goal is actually not. We used to have a network of them trying to the buyers, right? We could extend access to quality information across center base, yes, but also access.
Right.
Yeah. Inclusive.
Like, better program, contains more of our.
Right, I was like $6 and these are quality. It's like if you just started quality, then you just clearly have enrollment.
Yeah, how to do that. Yeah,
Like more hits.
Yeah.
Roll.
One more minute.
As resources.
And it's more totally wow, sure thing. Not just college, it's totally, but like, it's more so what it's like. I'm gonna do that to this.
I actually don't know how it. You look at it, it's assessed, I talk to the family. And then you say, oh, there's someone I'm hearing, hearing the top of the growth. It's just
So we're very cautious. It's families, they talk about the that's right. If they're they're looking for well, that might be a good time.
Okay, so we are going to wrap up these discussions. So everybody, please raise your right hand. Raise your right hand and high five all the people in your group. Done. So you do a quick wrap up. I'm curious, just is this as you were in these groups, working on them or viewing the other groups, anything you waste, anything you noticed that you're be thinking on about as you meet.
Like we were talking about expanding quality access, and what resonated was a comment shared about almost kind of like shared resourcing. Like I might have a lot of coaching and all these other things that might need something else, but another site might need more coaching. So how do we distribute based on kind of need as opposed to like everybody gets 20 hours of coaching? There was even an appetite to share some of like, I can say that I have enough of this resource, but maybe another site didn't have. Yeah.
Or even we're doing this workshop and coaching, like come hang out with us from another site. You can walk through our classrooms together during the coaching process. There's lots of things that could be done.
We were talking a little bit about how there's an access to any childcare, and then there's access to quality. So
Yeah.
what it takes to
Yeah.
do both of those, and how do the R&Rs work and increase awareness of them so that families know how to access childcare, period. How do they know how to access childcare that's right for their family? And then what are our universal sort of standards of quality that we would want to know so that there's no family that's accessing less than quality childcare?
Thank you. Last comment, Oscar.
If the angle, if the children getting to the school ready for the kindergarten or ready for school, I feel we are missing the families who decided not to send their children to, but they still need their children still need to be ready. That's why I wanted to bring up priority.
Thank you. That is our North Star for quality.